Hey YouTube, how you doing? Kevin here. Today we're going to do the preparation, and I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about what you need to be looking for when you're doing these piston swaps. So we're going to be doing something like Kona. I'm going to move you back actually so you can see everything. Hopefully you guys can. Sorry, I'm a little on the quiet side. My wife is in the other room sleeping. So anyway, I want to talk to you guys about the gasket set first. This is the gasket set right here that I got. The main gasket is in back of here. It's right back here. That's how they pack them. This is OEM standard, and I ordered this online from eBay. And OEM Cycle is the place I went and got it. This is my third gasket set from these people, and they are awesome. So very good company to deal with. If you go on eBay, look for that name, and that's a good quality gasket set. And the people who did the nikasil coating, Steadfast Cycles. The machine work was done by Del Valve in Greenville, New Hampshire, and he did an excellent job with that. So today we're going to follow the instructions. I brought some pistons and stuff like that to show you what's going on. Of course, we have the brand new piston. We have the original piston right here, and we have an 80 piston. I just wanted to show you guys the blow by again on that right there. Those are improper rings seated and had a lot of blow by, so keep that in mind. Okay, I also want to talk to you guys about wrist pins. Now, there's a lot going on with wrist pins. The wrist pins are in essence a very hardened steel pin. They look deceiving. This top one right here actually has grooves in it. I wanted to show you that you take your fingernail and go right across. You can feel the grooves. You don't want to be using that. It should be nice and smooth like this one. However, this one does look worse. It also came off of an engine with excess blow-by, which was that piston over there that had the blow-by. So you want to look at the bearing surfaces. You want to clean them and make sure that there is no what you call grooves or incorrect wear. Oftentimes you can replace this wrist pin fairly cheap. It's not a very hard thing to do, but this one here is actually in very good shape, very good condition for what it is. And you're looking for metal to be worn off, and this one just has the regular basic typical wear. And I did micrometer it, and I did mic it, and it's within specs, so we're going to use that. And then of course we always replace your bearing with a brand new we call it the wrist pin bearing, because these are very critical. Okay, so that's pretty much it for that. Today, right now, what we're going to do is we're going to wash the cylinder. The nikasil coating, basically what they do with this cylinder here, as you know, they're all come black. They sandblast these things with a black sandblast, and it takes it all right back to brand new. And that stuff is called Black Beauty. They sandblast it and make it look all back to brand new original condition. However, sand gets embedded into cracks and crevices, and you may not be able to see them. So we have to wash and flush this thing out with hot soapy water. And I'm just going to use regular Dawn dish detergent, and we use that. And we use a brand new sponge, never used. And I have this brush right here. This is not a brass brush. This is a plastic brush. It's just plastic. There's no metal. It's not harsh. You can't, you can't hurt anything with it. So we're going to use that. Make sure it's nice and clean. And that's pretty much it for that. So we're gonna without further ado, we're just gonna get in there and start washing this thing off. I got a nice clean sink. There's no oils on this to go down the drain, so that's a big plus. If you have oil all over it and it's covered in oil, you obviously want to clean it off with a cleaner before you dump that down your sink. We don't want that type of crap in our system. So, just gonna run the hot water, get that coming on, and then sponge. You want to clean the outside as well as the inside. Wet your sponge really, really good. Clean it out. Be generous with the soap. This is what we're doing, is we're washing off all the sand, all the excess coating stuff that is not needed, that you don't not needed, but leftover stuff. You want to get it all off there. You want to get soap and water into the ports. You want to get this all cleaned up as much as you can. We're going to take our time with it. I'm soaping everything. If you feel any grit, don't rub it. Try to remove it without rubbing it, because you don't want to scratch the cylinder. Now there's a cross hatch pattern inside the cylinder, and you want to make sure that there's no debris or dirt or anything into that what do you call it there, into that cylinder, because into those cross hatch patterns, because that'll wear into your what do you call it there, your cylinders, you know. So like that. Go generous with the soap, it's fine. Just gonna wash it off anyway. Get the coolant pins, get anywhere and everywhere you can. Do a real thorough job with it. The brush really makes it nice and easy to do. You know, you can get a lot with the brush. Do not use a brass or a steel wool or anything like that. You want to keep it all basic stuff. As far down as far as you can. As hot as you can stand it is the best way to go. Flush out those jugs, the cylinder, flush it all out best as you can. Don't forget to get your stud holes too. Very important. Run it right down through. Make sure it's nice and clean. Then, after you get that part done, do it one more time. Put that down. I'm going to replace the soap. Clean that cylinder really, really thorough. That's like the main part of this whole thing. So without that cylinder, this bike is junk. And mind you, that's all in the instructions how to do this. How to clean it. How to flush it. You want to make sure you get this thing 100% clean, because throw some elbow grease in there. Get as much as you can. Don't be afraid of the soap to get it into the cylinder, because it's very, very important. You do this, get your exhaust port, because you don't want any of that sand, like I said, going through that motor. One speck of sand will destroy this thing. Get as far as you can. Let's go on the groove, get that all cleaned up inside there. You can use a toothbrush too. Don't think you can't. You can use a toothbrush. Those work out good too. Alright. That's still nice and hot. I'm going to rinse out the cylinder. I'm going to take an extra, because I can't really get in there too well. So I'm just going to take a second with the ports and just let the water flow through them. Wash it all off. Be generous with the water. Make sure you get your exhaust port, your stud holes, all that stuff. And the back one right there. Big transfer port, just make sure you go back and forth, kind of flushing them all out. Now that we flushed it all into the cylinder, I'm going to wash the cylinder one more time, just to be cautious there. Both ends of it. I'll rinse it one more time. Make sure there's no soap on it. Okay, that part's done. And now the hard part. We have to wash the piston because the piston was fitted into the cylinder. So you're going to support the rings and just kind of don't go too hard on them because you don't want to rip the ring. You can break a ring with a sponge, believe it or not. I guess the patting technique would be the best to go. You want to rinse out and make sure you get all the crap off this. This right here was not sandblasted, but it was exposed in that area. So you want to make sure that you get all that. Get the skirt really good. Now there's little plateaus on the skirt. You can feel them when you brush it, when you go over it. Go very gentle on the rings. Lifting the ring up because you want to get the soap under the ring. You want to get the soap under the ring, but you don't want to rip the ring off the piston, which is very easy to do. So keep that in mind when you're doing that. And I already had the rings fitted on there, so I'm just going to lift them up and kind of rotate them a little bit, back and forth. Fill up the piston. Rinse it all off completely. Make sure it's really, really done well. Okay. And that part right there is done. Now in the directions it says to blow off with compressed air. So that's what we're going to go outside and do real quick. We're going to go blow the stuff off. So I'm going to bring you out there first, and then I'll bring out the what do you call it there, the piston. Okay, so go right out there. I'm stuck on something. Of course I'm stuck. Hold on 1 second. Trying to get this thing off the door. Okay. Nice. Got some bikes going by, people. Take a look at the bikes. All the motorcycles. Must have a bike ride going on. Happens all the time up here. There we go. Get some bikes. Alright, anyway, back on what we're doing. Okay, now I'm going to blow this off. Now, when you're blowing off a piston that has rings on it, you need to hold the rings, because the compressed air can get underneath of them and lift. So I'm going to hold it, and then I'm going to blow it up with the compressed air. Okay, that piston is nice and dry, and I'm going to stick it on a dry surface. Next step, blow out the jug, or cylinder, or barrel, depends on where you're from and whatever you call it. We call it all kinds of things. Some people call it jug, cylinder, barrel. I've heard it called all kinds of things. support it, grasp it firmly, because you don't want this thing falling on the ground. Okay, now it's confirmed that this cylinder is completely dry, cleaned, and prepped. That's how you clean a nikasil coated piston and cylinder. Well, the piston's not nikasil, but the piston, they want you to clean it because they fit it in here. I mean, they already blew this out once to fit the rings to make sure it fit properly. However, you're in a dusty shop, it's been cleaned, it's been sandblasted. As a precaution, they want you to do that to make sure you get every little bit of sand, blast, all that type of stuff. Because when they blast this, I'm going to show you what they use. Put that down for a minute. I'll take you right out to the back of the car. I showed you on my other video, this is what I sandblast with, and it's called Black Beauty. But they also, I can't touch it because I'm going to be working with that stuff, but I'm going to show you guys if I can, because you don't want this stuff at the same place you're working. So, open up the trunk here. I don't know if you can see it or not. See that black powder stuff right there? That's called Black Beauty. Okay, that's sandblast. That's a sandblaster right there. That stuff is what they use to bring that right back to like brand new. So those little, it's like a fine dust, like a glass bead almost. You don't want that stuff in your engine. That will burn up a bearing faster than you could say, oh my God. And then you're back at square one, or in this case, because I'm building a performance motor, it's just not in a good place. You know what I mean? Okay, so this is the 1990, I'm sorry, this is the 2000 engine I'm using. I'm going to put you on the thing here. Hold on one second. My recycling blew around a little bit last night because of the wind. Yeah, a little bit of wind, so I'm actually going to put those bottles back in that bag because that's what they blew out of, but we'll put those over there for now and get them out of my way. Okay, so now you can see the engine right here. I'm going to rotate it towards you a little bit. Actually, you know what? We're going to do this a little differently here. Hold on one second. Put that motor on top of the sun. Oh yeah, it's a lot better. Alright, sorry about that. I'm going to do it in a way that you guys can see a little better. Alright, here we go. That's a lot better. Okay, so your preparations for this is to make sure you have a very clean gasket surface. Now, this motor right here has been sitting for a little bit, so I put some 2-stroke oil in there, which is fine, you know. You just want to make sure, I just uncovered this, by the way. So you just want to make sure you get make sure there's no debris in there from scraping the gasket, because that's what I just did. Okay. Make sure everything's nice and clean. Cleanliness is next to godliness when it comes to this. And I want to teach you guys another little trick. You guys ever have that stubborn gasket that you can't get off? I mean, you try to use a razor blade, but then you start to scratch the metal. No, I'm going to show you guys a gasket scraper that will scrape that gasket nicely. And you're not even going to believe what it is. You ready for this? This is an old trick. And did you know copper is very good for removing gaskets? Yep. Use the edge of the old head gasket, and then you can just go like this. See right there, move that little piece right there. You can use this right here to clean up gasket surfaces. The corner of the edge of the thing, and it will not scratch. And these little stubborn, hard to get pieces like that little dot right there, I can get that with this the head gasket, just like that. Look at that, came right off. Boom, boom, boom. You can get every little piece. So this can be a gasket scraper. A lot of people didn't know that, which pretty cool. So what you're going to do is you're going to inspect the top of the connecting rod for discoloration. That means that the wrist pin that got overheated, the wrist pin wasn't moving. This one's in excellent condition. This thing's got like 1,700 miles on it, so I'm not expecting anything bad here. Okay, the inside of the bearing, you want to make sure that there's no metal fatigue in there, that the bearing surface is nice and clean, and it looks good. So it should be uniform with the rest of it. It shouldn't have any score marks or any type of any roughages, you know. Okay, so the first step in this whole mess, what I like to do is I like to slide the gasket on first. So let me go grab that. Okay, we got the gasket right here. This is from that OEM cycles that I showed you there. Put this on so it fits on there properly. There is no top or bottom. You just got to make sure that the recesses for your ports all line up. Okay, next thing we're going to grab is we're going to grab the almost forgot to check the center hole right here. Make sure there's no debris in there. Make sure it's nice and clean. Then I got a little gasket in there. Yep. Okay. Yep, that, and then boom, got it. Okay, good. And on this one here, there are 3 oil holes. One here, one down bottom, and then one up top. So there's 3 oil holes that this thing uses for lubrication, which is pretty cool, pretty badass. Alright, so the first step is we're going to install the new wrist pin bearing. So you're going to use your I use Permatex Ultra Slick Engine Assembly Lube. I use this stuff on everything except for hamburgers and stuff like that, but you guys get the idea. I give it a nice healthy coating, because understand this thing's going to break in. It's not going to have any 2-stroke up there yet. And just slide it right in. Just like that, boom. Then we have the wrist pin, the one I'm using. Okay, and I'm going to grab the new piston. Okay, so here's the new piston right here. And a little trick for you. Whenever you install a new piston, it's a very good idea to install one clip first on a wrist pin clip. Alright, so they gave us a little pack of Wiseco C-clips. These were here for the clip on the wrist pin clip. I'm going to install one on one side only. Do it on that side. It doesn't matter what side, depending, you know, if you're right or left-handed, and it just fits into the groove. And they can be a little tight because it's a brand new piston. So keep that in mind. Gonna have to force this in here a little bit. They are tight. They are not an easy snap clip, and I do them by hand only, no tools required, because you don't want to bend it, and you also don't want to score up the piston trying to put it in either. So kind of like a little, like, oh my god, how are you gonna do that? So I just kind of roll it in, you know. God, that's difficult to get in there. They are, that's why I say you always put them in first, so I'm trying to do that right now, actually. Try to roll that in there. Kind of hard to do when you have arthritis, you know. Alright. Almost got that. Okay, I'll put you back over here for a second. Alright. Like that. I got it put in there. Now I'm going to use a tool to snap it into place. This tool right here, just using a pick, comes in handy because you can push it from the other side as well. But you want to make sure this thing snaps in and not out. Snapping out would be bad. Yeah, you don't want to forget these. You got one snap in. If you use the tool, you can actually verify it's in there by putting the thing into the groove, the tip into the groove, and rotating it. And then you can verify that's in there. But see, you don't want to get any scratches on the outside of this thing. That's why it's very important to put it in by hand and then use the tool to straighten it. If you get it in and it's too far in, you can actually use the wrist pin to push it out the other way. Alright, so now that we get that part in, what I like to do is on the I'll show you. On the piston crown, there's a little arrow. I don't know if you can see it too well. Yeah, I can see it right there. There's a little arrow that faces down. That's your exhaust. Okay, that always goes towards exhaust. I have the wrist pin on the left side. You could put it on the right side. Depends on which way you want to put the piston in. Okay, then I use a little dab of Permatex right in the hole. Pinky it if I can. Kind of lube it a little bit. And then I'm going to use on the wrist pin. Put this on a clean surface. Wrist pin is clean as it's gonna get. The discoloration, it had, like I said, it was on a motor that had blow by. That'll come off. There is no grooves on it at all. It's been cleaned, so it's a good wrist pin. So I'm gonna lube up the hole on this side as well. And then I'm going to put a little dab of oil on the wrist pin on the inner side. Okay, maybe I just want a little bit more than a dab on that one. Holy crap. Here we go, people. Here we go. Okay. So the wrist pin's lubed. Everything's lubed. Shit looks like blood. Alright. Then we're going to slide the piston on. And into the hole. Okay. Now I gently rested that on there. I'm going to show you guys a little trick. I have it rested on there, so I don't like doing that with the bearings, with the rings. But watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you guys a little trick that's going to help you out when you're installing that wrist pin, so you don't have metal to metal contact. Mama's sleeping. Okay, sorry about that. I had to go and get it. Alright, this is 3M heat shrink tubing. Take 2 heat shrink tubings, or 4, or however many you want. These actually make good bumpers. You can actually put those on right after you do the gasket, would actually be ideal. And then the piston. Now you can use anything. You don't have to use tubing. Okay, I'm going to show you another thing that works pretty good. Since I'm doing all these tips and tricks for you, I want to show you guys. Okay, you ready for this, guys? You're gonna love this one. Yep, toilet paper rolls. You can easily slide these over here, and those are gonna protect it too. And look, you still have room to work. Okay, now your piston is sitting on a very well protected surface, well, your rings are anyway, on a protected surface that's going to allow you to manhandle that piston and do it so you can put that clip into it. Okay, and that is very, very, very important that you do not hurt or damage those rings in any way, shape, or form. So I'm gonna go work on putting the other clip in. So I'm gonna move you guys because it's gonna be kind of like right in the way here. Let me move this generator. Alright, you got to get these clips in. You got to make sure that you have both clips. It's imperative that you have both clips in there, because if you put just one, the piston goes up and down. It's going to vibrate that wrist pin out, and when that wrist pin comes out, it's going to score the hell out of the cylinder. The cylinder is going to be junk, not being able to be recoated, and you're going to ruin this engine. It's going to seize right up on you. So putting the piston clip in. Like I said, I got arthritis, so it's a little difficult for me at the moment. And you don't want to bend these clips too far. Being careful not to drop it into the engine as well. Almost had that. Okay, got it in. That's how I did the other one. It's a little difficult. And then you want to hear the snap. Oh, there you go. You heard the snap. It clipped right in. Then I put it in the groove and I rotate it just a little bit. Yep, to verify that it's in properly. And that is how you install a piston onto the connecting rod. There's no up and down play. We're good on that. And everybody's happy. There's peace on earth, and we're all good there. All right, so now for the next part. I'm just gonna stay with the toilet paper rolls. Why not, right? Okay, so I'm gonna line up my rings. There's a little pin when you're doing this. Got one. And two right there. Set that back down. And then I get a little excited with the Permatex, you know what I mean? So let's lubricate this thing up. Make sure you lube the rings, the skirts. This thing's gonna be running dry for a second until it, you know, when you're kicking it over. And of course, you're gonna want to play with it a little bit too. So. A little bit of ultra slick on there, ain't gonna hurt nothing. I'm making a video, buddy. Okay. Alright. Then I'm gonna gently put that down. This engine does not require a, what do you call it there? A piston ring tool. The bottom part of the cylinder is tapered. So, the cylinder, when you slide this on there, is actually going to guide, right here, is going to guide the rings into the cylinder. However, you're going to want to coat this with a little bit of lube too. I go excessive with the lube. Some people don't. Some people, oh, I don't have to do that. You know what? This is going to be sitting for a little bit before I actually get to finish it off. I'm not putting the cylinder head on today because the cylinder head I'm using is actually on my KE102, 100 I mean, KE100. So I got to rip that head off and put the head on this one. So this engine right here, after I get done with this, is going to be going back into its box. But I'm doing this for the video purposes to show you guys. I'm just lubing it up right now. How to install a piston and cylinder properly when you get a new one that's been nikasil coating, and this works for all two-strokes, not just for the one I'm building. So I get the cylinder all nice and coated in there. Okay, I have my rings lined up, which is very important. Make sure your rings are lined up. Double check your rings. Okay, I can see the pin there, and I can see the pin on that side. Okay. And there's no dirt. It's nice and clean. The gasket surface down bottom is nice and clean as well. We are ready to slide the cylinder onto the piston. Going very gently. And just kind of working it back a little bit, back and forth. Don't be hasty, don't be in a rush with it. It will go. Sometimes you got to maneuver the ring a little bit to get it into a groove. But it will go. If it doesn't, that means the ring came out of its pin, out of its alignment, which this one did, right here. This is where the clip pin is, right there. Okay. Just want to make sure you get that all lined up. Sometimes you'll be doing this a couple times. Sometimes it goes right in first time. You just want to be gentle with it. You don't want to break a ring or do any of that type of stuff. Okay, we're on. And then she just slides right down in, just like that. And that is how that is. I'm not painting this cylinder until I get the whole engine prepped and ready, because I have to clean the entire engine. Oh yeah, this is awesome. This is awesome. So, that is all set with that. Slide the new copper ring on that. Hold on one second. Okay. And I have new copper gaskets and a new exhaust gasket. The exhaust ring goes in the hole, but I'm not going to put that on just yet, so I just take the ring, the ring, and slide it right over the Kickstarter and right down to the bottom, and that it can stay there. That way I don't lose it. So I just slid it right over the Kickstarter, and then when I go to do it, I'll have it. I don't have to worry about it. Okay, so brand new copper. Look at that little shiny thing, isn't it? Cool. Okay. Sometimes there's an offset to these. Yep. Make sure you have it so you can see the entire piston on it, because sometimes when you go to put these on, you can't. And then what happens is it'll be installed incorrectly, and that's not good. It's nice and tight. I love how these gaskets fit. Right over the shaft. And you don't want to bend these either. So you can use a socket sometime. Make sure you get a nice clean socket. If you're having difficulty with one, You just put that right over the socket right over the stud and give it a little tap down, tap down, tap down, tap down. Sometimes you need a little bit more. Just the way they cut. Like that. Boom. Boom. Okay. And that right there will crush down nicely. That, my friends, is how you install a brand new piston into a bigger cylinder. This is bored out. This is actually not a 99cc anymore. With the bore and the stroke, it is now a 102cc engine. Now, for you guys, when you install yours, you're going to install your cylinder head. I put the nuts on there, but the nuts wouldn't be on there. You install your cylinder head, and you would torque these down to 16 foot-pounds in a crisscross pattern, like you would a tire on a car. So, we went from 99 cc's to 102 cc's, actual cc's. Now, I'm going to show you guys something else that's really cool. In the last video, I was talking to you guys about, what do you call it there? Right there. Okay. I was talking to you guys about the expansion chamber. And now that the piston is in the cylinder, let's go on a little adventure, shall we? I'm going to see if I can expand you guys. Okay. Here. Okay. I'm gonna have to take you guys off actually. See if I can go a little steeper. Hold on, guys. Just experimenting here. Okay. So right now I got the piston all the way at the bottom, and you can see the exhaust ports opened up right there. And then if you look up there, you can see the transfer ports for the intake. Okay, so let me clean this off right here in my pick. I'm going to show you. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see all that well, but let me see if I can get a flashlight. Hold on. Give me a minute. Okay, here we go. You can see how the intake ports right up in here are opened up, right here, as the piston is at the bottom of the stroke. And then look, you can also see the exhaust port opened up. So as the intake and air charge come through these ports, some of it is escaped out this port before the piston closes the ports. Okay, so your piston is actually like your valves. All right, they're open, so the charge, in essence, goes in, and just a little bit comes out the side with the exhaust from the vacuum. With the expansion chamber, it pushes up, it back pressures it a little better. It more poof, and blows it back through, but it does it in like a millisecond. With that said, it literally increases your horsepower, because instead of losing your fuel and air charge out the exhaust, you're receiving it back again, and or holding it in, if you will, or popping it back in. It's kind of hard to explain, but it gives you more horsepower and torque, because now you're filling that entire chamber up with your air and fuel charge. And that's the idea behind the expansion chamber. So this thing's gonna go like pretty damn good with an expansion chamber on it, especially the way I'm gonna set it up. Now, you can port these cylinders, okay, and what that means is those ports that I showed you, the intake and exhaust ports. Let me take you off here for a second. Okay. Those intake and exhaust ports You can see right there the intakes, okay? The piston's up at the bottom. I don't know if it's all the way down, but yeah, it's all the way down. Okay, so right now, the piston is all the way down, and you can see the ports exposed. Okay, when you port a cylinder, you make those ports bigger, longer, and everything else. But look how many we have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ports. Okay, 4 transfer ports, and 1 giant exhaust port right there. Your intake is only this big. Okay, it's only this big. This is it. So, no matter how much porting you do on all those, you actually have more real estate here than you do here, what you're putting into it. So it doesn't matter, it doesn't make sense to do that on this particular engine. Now, if this was a reed valve engine, where the reeds would be right here, then you can get different size reeds. You can open up that intake port. You can make that intake port as big as you want. And it would make a significant difference in power. Unfortunately, this engine is a rotary valve with a 26 millimeter outer diameter, so it's like a 24 millimeter inner diameter intake. So we're really pushing as much in this as we possibly can. We're changing the carburetor style as well. Okay, so we're really going to force feed this engine to generate its, well, I was going for 15 horsepower. After seeing the exhaust, I bet you I get 20. 21. I'm actually going for 21 now. Screw it. And with the electronic ignition, they're fixed. They're non-adjustable. Okay, the plate you can't adjust to retard or advance the timing. So you're kind of married to the timing, your intake and exhaust ports, and your carburation, you're limited. Okay? And with that said, that makes it kind of difficult to get monster power out of these motors. So if it was a like if you look at the 125s and all that, they have adjustable time. You can adjust the timing. These are not adjustable. These are fixed. That kind of sucks. Now you could drill it out and make it so you can advance and retard the timing, but then you still have to deal with the intake and the rotary valve. Now the rotary valve's underneath this cover, underneath the cover that the intake is on. And you can alter that so you have a longer intake stroke, or you know how it is. Yeah, a longer intake stroke. But that ain't gonna do you no good, because you're not affecting the timing on the jug. So why even bother with all that type of stuff? You're not gonna get anything else out of it. So basically, your power that you're gonna be going for, you can alter your cylinder like I did, made it 102. I'm altering the exhaust system to put a nice big expansion chamber. Okay. Now when you do the exhaust expansion chamber, you have room to play with the carburetor. So I could change the carburetor, I could change the exhaust, and I could change the cylinder. And that's where my power is coming from. And then, all right. So what you could do is you can change your combustion chamber. All right. So now I have 102 cc's and going to be compressed into this combustion chamber. Well, I have a high compression head where this chamber right here is smaller. So now I'm compressing all that volume into a tighter combustion chamber. With the electronic ignition, when that ignites that, it's going to give me maximum power, maximum efficiency for this particular motor. And with the combination of the what do you call it, the carburetor, exhaust, cylinder head, this is a hell of a, and piston, this is going to be a hell of a combination. So it should be a pretty quick little bike. I'm not going for high speed, I'm going for torque, so it can climb, and I'm going for functionality, I'm making it fun. So that's pretty much it. And I took off on this side, is it right here? Yep, on this side right here, I took off the 99cc. It would say 99cc, like here's an actual jug right here. You see where it says 99cc on it, right above where it says made in Japan. I took mine off. I took mine off because I didn't want it to be deceived. Excuse me. It's a 102. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Please subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, by all means, send them my way. Thank you guys for hanging out with me and going through this adventure. This is the cylinder installation on the KE102 build. And we have the, what do you call it there? The bored out cylinder, nikasil coated with a brand new piston, new gaskets. We're good to go. Thank you for watching.